Hey y'all, I'm back with another video. I'm your host Rhea and welcome to my scandal. Today's topic is the review of the Women's War Games match of Survivor Series 2024, and we just gonna get right into it because I got a lot to say about this match. And my biggest concern that we gonna be talking about throughout this video is the lack of storytelling within this match. Now let's attack the main factors of my concern from the storytelling. And number one, we got no tension between Bianca and Bayley. Now, throughout this build, we know about Bianca and Bayley's history and how Bianca does not trust Bayley, her friendship with Naomi, and just how she treats Bayley. Y'all just know the history. And what happened in this match did not live up to that tension, did not live up to all the history that Bianca and Bayley have. That was basically one of the main storylines within the build to Survivor Series because Bianca doesn't trust Bayley. And, you know, Bayley gained her trust by helping her pin Nia, but none of that, no miscommunication, no type of like bumping into each other, arguing, or nothing. Also, one of the factors of that storyline is Naomi being caught in the middle of it, you know, because she loves both Bianca and Bayley, and she been basically the peacekeeper between the two. Because if Naomi is not around, if Bianca and Bayley are face to face, I really would think that Bianca would, you know, fight her or like really get in her face, you know, because of how much history and how much hatred that Bianca has for Bayley because of everything that she has done. And Bayley, you know, being babyface now, she just wants to keep the peace between her and Bianca, but Bianca still holds that, and Bayley hasn't really directly apologized to Bianca to what she has done. So that should have really been focal point within their team's stance, because their stance as a team between Bayley, Bianca, and Iyo, which we're about to get into, it would have been a very good focal point to press on in the match and make it more intense. Yeah, let's get right into Iyo and Bayley. Them not having enough tension. Yeah, they had that stare down for 5 seconds, but it did not cover how much bad blood is between the two. Because, you know, beginning of the year, Bayley won the Royal Rumble, and from there back to, let's say Crown Jewel when Kyrie returned, and Bayley didn't have no knowledge of that. It was all Iyo's plan and all of that. Then Asuka coming into the team and her not having that much knowledge of that, and then Dakota playing like she gonna be on Bayley's side, and then she turned on them, and then it's Bayley against Damage Control. We seen that, and them not having that much tension either, just having a stare down that ended very quickly. It didn't cover much of what, you know, their feud was of this year. Nothing really happened. Like, there was no moment where it showed that Bayley doesn't trust Iyo, them having a little fussy moment. You know, it wasn't nothing like that. Just like Bianca and Bayley, like they had nothing, while Iyo and Bayley had something for seconds, and then just the window on like nothing didn't happen. And at least like at the end when everybody was celebrating, Iyo was hugging Rhea, Naomi and Bianca were hugging each other, and Bayley was, you know, just looking sour and looking left alone. That was something, but it wasn't enough to be like, yeah, Bayley, the loner of this team. It didn't really show that much of it throughout the match. It could have been a good ending to that if there was more tension between the dynamics I just mentioned. That's just like the main points of the lack of storytelling within this match. And also, there was no reveal or hint of who attacked Jade. There was literally no type of side-eyeing or type of tension. There was nothing. And, you know, last video of the possible suspects, like the 3 of them that I have mentioned who are the suspects that are on the team, didn't show any type of malicious type of motive or try to do anything crazy. Like, one of them had their back turned and Bayley, Naomi, or Bianca had a chair in their hand. Like, any type of dynamic, like Naomi having her back turned and Bayley having a chair in her hand, or Bianca having her back turned, Bayley having a chair in her hand, or vice versa. Like, there was nothing like that at all, which is tying into the factors that I just mentioned. There was no type of hint, no type of nothing. If it was going to be no hint or turn of the attacker, then it could have been, what I just mentioned, like might having their back turn, chair, candlestick, whatever in their hand, seeming like they about to, attack. But there was nothing like that. It just did not add any more fuel or excitement to figure out who attacked Jade. But there was nothing. And I don't even think they barely even mentioned Jade in the match at all, besides probably like the beginning when Bianca was making her entrance or whatever. I can't remember exactly, but there was little to no mention to her at all, and no possible hint of anything. So that's that. Another thing is there could be a lot more friction between Rhea, Liv, and Raquel. Like, I really do feel like it was very subtle with what that dynamic had. You have Liv and Raquel, who resent Rhea for hurting them, injuring them, taking them out, and Rhea's hatred for what Liv and Raquel did to her from the bat attack, and what Liv has done all this year to Rhea because Rhea turning her back on Liv and betraying her, brutalizing her, taking her out for 6 months. I just really feel like they could have done a whole lot more with that, like having Liv and Raquel jump Rhea, like going back and forth dialogue and stuff. It could have been more emotion, but like I said, there's lack of storytelling. It didn't feel like there was any type of hatred. It was just more like, I'm gonna beat your ass. That's it. And then go forth like, I hate you. I hate what you did to me. All of that. With everything that I'm tying together, everything that I mentioned, no emotion, no suspense. It's just nothing. It just felt dull. It just felt like it's just a hardcore match. Let's just get this over with. It's just a gimmick match. Let's get this over with. That's what it felt like. Last thing. It absolutely made no sense for Tiffany to be teasing a Money in the Bank cash-in on the champions who are on her team. Like, that really made no type of sense. Like, she going back and forth between Liv, Nia. Like, it didn't make any sense to be doing that because they're both on her team. And if, like, she did that, probably, obviously, on Liv, because between her and Nia, and, she's scared of her, basically. So, even if she cashed in and won on Liv, what would that leave the team? Would Tiffany get jumped? Would she got kicked out? Or I don't know. It just didn't seem like a very good time to be teasing that right now. It's already been teased with her trying to pick between Liv and Nia and her not trying to betray Nia, but it was just not the time to do that because they are on your team. I would get it if Liv was on the opposing team and she was trying to cash in on her, but since that was not the case and that Liv was on her team along with Nia, it didn't make sense for her to try and cash in on either one of those champions because it would obviously cost them to win and caused her to get beat up. Because, for example, when Rhea last year came running down with the Money Bank contract for Damien to cash in on, I think Seth was on the opposing team to Damien, so that really did make sense more than her trying to cash in on somebody that's on her team. That just couldn't have been left out. What could have been more of a storyline factor between her, Nia, and Candice is Nia trying to give Candice an order and Tiffany trying to take that order and trying to do it for herself, but Nia pushing her away and being like, no, Candice gonna do this, something like that. It could have been something else between them that could have shown the friction between Nia and Tiffany that's obviously going to break at some point. Their friendship going to break up at some point because, as you can see, she's Miss Money in the Bank. Nia's a women's champion. You know how stuff like that go now. So it's just not the right time for her to do that. Overall, with the main factors of my concern of the storytelling is Triple Nose. He had no type of energy with the storytelling at all within this match whatsoever. Like, they just slapped stuff together and then just like, bam, yeah, here y'all go. It really showed with the flow of the match. Like, everything just felt dull. He gave no type of inspiration, motivation for us to feel intrigued with all the dynamics that are in this match. All 10 women have some type of purpose within the match and some type of hatred for the opposing team members. Like, there was so much material that was just left alone, and it was just so subtle and just bits and pieces of stuff that could have been bigger, and it couldn't have been bigger pieces to be put in the match. So we can get intrigued for the next upcoming weeks of who is the attacker of Jade. If Tiffany is going to turn on Ion at some point. If Bianca going to start suspecting Bayley as the attacker, or Naomi or something. I don't know. Like, there is nothing to, get us hyped for the next upcoming weeks of what's going to happen next. Like, the match itself should have been like the hype up to what's going to be coming Mania season. My other concerns is that there wasn't enough offense between Liv and Rhea. I understand that, Rhea was injured with the skull and all of that. That was also a big main factor of, how this match came, because of the bat attack from Liv and Raquel and leaving Rhea all bloody and bruised up like hell. And I just really do feel like that they should have a lot more offense. Like, give Rhea something that she can do that won't affect her skull, She did do some spots like where Liv did the code breaker and she had the chair on her face. A few things like that, and just like more of showing the emotion and hatred between Liv and Rhea. Like I said, a couple of minutes ago about, dialogues between them. Like, they could have hits and blows of like, I hate you what you did to me, just some type of dialogue to like really capture everything that has happened this year between the two. And it could have been very subtle, but like very clear. Like forearms, kicks to the stomach, clotheslines, kendo stick hits. Liv used her back. She could have been a lot more forceful with it than she was. There could have been a lot more between them, especially since they are the captains of their teams. Like, they should have been more involved in the match than anybody else. And out of each dynamic in the match, they had the biggest storyline this year, despite of how it's been booked. And like, the finish itself showed how little everything felt. Of how every factor of each storyline in the match felt so short and sudden. The back and forth between Liv and Rhea, it was like maybe 3 to 5 minutes. It felt like it just was so short, because like I said, they should have had more offense between each other throughout the match, when the match officially began. So I did like the riptide onto the table from the top rope. I did like that. I did, but it just felt so quick. It got there too quickly. The team should have been, involved in the finish more. Just like, with the Bloodline War Games match. Everybody had a piece of the captain before the captain of their team got in the win off of, the imposing team captain. They could have done that with the women too, but again, this man just gave no energy with into this match. This match just felt very subtle, felt very dull, bland. I ain't feel no type of intensity or anything. Moving on, before we wrap things up and I get to my overall thoughts, let's get into the fan noise. Now, I'm introducing the fan noise as a little segment in my reviews because, I be online. I be on Twitter, I be on Instagram, I be on TikTok, I be on everything regarding social media and the IWC. I be keeping up. So here is the first segment of fan noise. Number 1, the complaints of the slow start with the match. Now, like I said a little bit earlier, the beginning felt a little bit slow, but that's pretty much evident with War Games matches because each team member is coming in before the match officially begins, and you want the opponents to preserve their energy. They are human at the end of the day, and they do need to get through the match because the match was like 30-40 minutes or so. They have to preserve their energy, and it is going to have to be, a little slow, a little technical, a little spaced out. And, I get it with the beginning, but like, I get throughout the match, like, it really felt like a stop and start type of thing. Like, it's no problem with that. Like I said, preserving energy for the wrestlers to get through the match. But I just feel like with this match, it's just very prolonged, dull bland moments. But with the slow start, any complaint about a slow start or a slow match period and into like something big, if it's the match gonna be long, then the start has to be, some type of slowness, so they can get through the match. So yeah, moving on to Nia's performance being attacked. Now, I get it, her chair shots was, lacking, but other than that, her performance was all right. I think y'all was doing entirely too much. No, I know y'all was doing entirely too much. Throughout the years, y'all have been giving Nia slack so much. And, I get it. Sometimes she was a little bit reckless. I can get that. At the end of the day, wrestlers do have off nights. They do. Sometimes wrestlers aren't going to feel like, this is just not my day. I feel so tired. I'm just going to try to get through this. It's going to be like that all the time. All wrestlers have off nights where they not feeling it, where they do going to seem a little weak. They are going to do something that's going to seem a little off, At the end of the day, like I said, they are humans. They are just like us. We're going to have our good days. We're going to have our bad days. We're going to be on our A game. We're going to be on our F game. It's just so much noise. That's why I call this thing. It's just noise about her performance. Overall, Nia is a good wrestler. She knows how to work the crowd. She's resilient. She has a dominant presence in the ring. And she's very strong and knows how to control her power enough to adapt to her powerhouse role in the match. I just feel like y'all be doing too much. Y'all just see, her being bigger than everybody else, to be seeing her as a bigger target to attack when you see her doing something very off. Nia has done great this year. This is honestly probably her best year in her career as of right now. Like I said, besides the chair shots, there wasn't really nothing much to get outraged about. Because like I said, wrestlers have off nights. You're going to catch them slipping up. You're going to catch a botch sometimes. It happens. It happens all the time. So y'all just trying to carry something y'all seen her do that wasn't, very pleasing, that wasn't well executed. Y'all take that and y'all drag it. Because y'all don't like the girl. Y'all don't like to see a plus-size woman being dominant, being a focal point in the women's division. It shows y'all fat-phobic as hell. We gonna get into that another time, but let's be real. A lot of y'all's unlikeliness and hatred towards Nia mostly is because of her size and how confidently, she is within her body. And she works well. No matter if you like her or dislike her, you can't deny her success. You can't deny her talent. Overall, her performance was all right. It was just the chair shots that seemed off. Everything else was all right. Y'all dragged it entirely too long. It's time to wrap it up, okay? And there was also, some off spots in the match from other women too, but I didn't see y'all dragging that. I didn't see y'all dragging Candice for missing her moonsault, or Liv's hits with her bat on Rhea, making it seem more safe than sorry type of movement. She was being a lot softer with her hits, just like Nia was. But I didn't see y'all dragging her for that. Y'all just try to find something very bad, trying to find something bad about Nia and then drag it for days on end. And for what? It really doesn't make no sense. But anyways, moving on. The next part of the noise is Liv being buried. Yep, Liv being buried. Okay, so let's tackle this. Being buried is basically being a jobber. You're basically like a lower card wrestler. You're involved in squash matches. You get little to no screen time. You get very horrible storylines. But let's tackle that real quick, because yes, Liv and Rhea's feud has been very dull. You can see how Rhea is continuously winning brawls, beatdowns, coming back 2 weeks after injuries, her pinning Liv again, and her being a total hypocrite is really, an expense of Liv is somehow showing that she kind of is being buried. But I would not say buried. I would say more of like her being booked as a loser. Because also being buried means you losing matches constantly and your character is being basically ridiculed to the point of where nobody's being interested in what you have to offer, because all these opponents are beating you and you losing brawls. Your opponent is shown as more dominant than you and you just basically looking weak. I would say in the expense of Rhea, it does seem like she is being buried. But I would say more of like a loser than buried than anything, because if she was being buried, she would not be champion right now. She, like I said, would be a lower card. She would be a jobber. Every single match that she's in, she would be losing it. You know, she would be involved in squash matches. You know what I'm saying? And at some point, she was at that point. And that was when she was in the Riot Squad. And if we go back to that for a second, the Riot Squad's whole run was very disappointing, alongside Absolutions. You know, they came in as dominant trios, and then within a year, you would forget that they are even part of the roster. That was me at some point, because the Riot Squad was being beaten and squashed by Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte in the build-up of their WrestleMania match, as well as being beaten by Ronda, the Bella Twins, Sasha, Natalya, Bayley at Evolution. You know, just losing against trios that are not even, you know, stabilized trios. They're not even official trios. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to bring a burial of Liv Morgan, that was probably her when she was in the Riot Squad. Yeah, because she constantly lost matches. She was in squash matches, constantly losing matches with her team. You know, that was probably a very good example of her being buried. But her now as world champion have a big role in the summer and being part of the biggest storyline on Raw, bringing in views, bringing in more fans, going on red carpets, winning that crown jewel. Even though that big ass title in that ring is pointless, they do view it as something big, so she did that, and just so much more. You know, even if we talk about outside of the ring, merchandise, all of that, with all the interviews, red carpets, and Liv has been doing it big. So as far as I'm concerned, she is not buried, you know, so y'all can dead that right now. Like I said, she's being booked more of a loser in the expense of Rhea than anything. And also another thing of her being pinned by not only Rhea, but Bianca as well. If they do revisit that, which they should, Liv should win cleanly against Bianca, because it will give her more credibility. I would say that Liv has lost some credibility like I said, in the expense of Rhea. And also she will probably lose a little bit more credibility if they do not revisit Bianca pinning Liv and her getting an opportunity and her obviously losing it. I honestly do not see a big problem with her, you know, being pinned, especially cleanly, because if that is the reason why y'all say that she is buried, then basically the other two women's champions are buried as well, because Roxanne and Nia, like I said in the last video, have been pinned. Nia been pinned by Bayley and Naomi at the same time, and Naomi a second time, and Roxanne has been pinned by Zarya and Stephanie. The pattern is they are being pinned by up-and-coming opponents and big threats in the women's division. Naomi, Bayley, Zarya, Stephanie, Bianca, and Rhea, they are all, you know, big stars of the divisions that they are in at the moment. It's not really much of a complaint and much of a frustration for me personally, because they are being beaten by threats to their championship. So overall, like I said, Liv is being booked as a loser in the expense of Rhea, but as far as a whole burial, nah. But if y'all think otherwise and y'all have more points to give as to why you think that Liv is buried, then, you know, give it to me. Give it to me in the comments. I would like to see y'all perspective, but like I said, for me personally, I don't see it. And the last part of the fan noise is Rhea's booking continuing to tank the women's division. And I respectfully fully agree, because with everything that we discussed with Liv and Rhea's feud, overall throughout the build of Survivor Series, she has been built like this undefeatable titan, as this undefeatable force, more prominent and more untouchable, if anything. Because let's go back to that segment on SmackDown during the build up of Survivor Series where she took out all 5 of those women. You know, she ran off Nia, Tiffany, Candice out of the ring. Liv and Raquel was in the ring still, you know, and she was fighting off all 5 of them to save her teammates that were laid out in the ring. Like, you mean to tell me that one woman can take out 5 women, 2 who are powerhouses, 1 high flyer and 2 technical wrestlers. You mean to tell me she took out all those women all at once? Well, maybe not all at once, just one by one, but still. She took out all those women. They could not try to band together and jump her. It's 1 of them and 5 of her. How in the world did she overcome that so quickly? You know what I'm saying? Just like all of the other examples of her just being so untouchable and unbeatable and undefeatable and all of that. Like, she can't be touched. Like, nothing can harm her. She came back from 3 injuries. 3. The first one for a shoulder injury, it was a respectable timeout because that was 3 months. With her storyline injury of her knee, she came back out to the ring to fight Liv off with the crutch, which Liv could catch the crutch and then beat her with it. But nah, she was wobbling, stumbling, limping down the ramp, getting to Liv and running her off, trying to catch her with 1 leg. And then also with this recent injury with her skull injury. You mean to tell me that she was able to come back from that bad attack, bloody and bruised up in the face within 2 weeks? This man has an unbelievable vision for this girl, which is hurting the women's division, is hurting Liv Morgan, and is hurting Rhea Ripley herself. We can get into all the hypocritical stuff a lot more in an upcoming video. Not only with that, but with this unstoppable direction that they're going in with her character, that she cannot be stopped. She cannot be taken out by the most brutal attacks. Like, it's hurting the women's division. It's hurting her. If we go back to the Women's Championship reign last year, we all seen what it had done to the women's division. She was booked entirely too powerful. Like, it really did seem like that there was no type of legitimate opponent for her when these women could have been built up to that standard. You mean to tell me that Zelina couldn't be built up to that standard? Natalya couldn't? Zoe couldn't? The closest that they have gotten to that point before Nia or Becky came in was Raquel. And, you know, their match wasn't really great, but besides, you know, like I said, Nia and Becky, she was basically the closest to being the legitimate opponent that can beat Rhea, which that was the problem. One woman seemed to be feasible to defeat Rhea within a span of 5 months is a problem. That was the biggest issue. And they are going to continue to run into that issue if she wins the championship again and has a long ass reign. Let's say if, you know, she wins the title back at Royal Rumble against Liv, and then we go to WrestleMania and, you know, she facing Iyo and she beats that. Like, what we gonna do then? What we gonna do then? If she retains at WrestleMania again, what we gonna do then? And what we gonna do in between that build-up? What's gonna happen? Because it's going to be all of the same things all over again with her reign. If we already seen how badly booked Liv's reign has been and how it's been revolved around Rhea, how is it going to go when Rhea wins the title back and she's back to having this unattainable, undefeatable, powerful, dominant reign? Dominance should not equal her being this undefeatable being that cannot be touched and that will beat down any woman within seconds, and then she's out like a light. I just wish that there was something that can happen to like really get through that Big Nose's head, that her booking is not helping anybody. It's not doing anybody favors, including Rhea Ripley herself. Because if she's continuously looking strong all the time and coming out of brawls, coming out of promos, coming out of matches strong all the time, then it's going to really look like there's, you know, no threat to her, which is a bad thing. Something has got to change. I do like Rhea. I really do. But her character gets on my nerves. But yeah, let's wrap this up with my overall thoughts of the match. The match itself, despite the lack of storytelling, the wonky spots here and there, and the stop and start pace of the match, honestly, it was an okay match. But I honestly will say that it was the weakest War Games match for the women, and undeservingly, because they could have done a lot more. Everything, considering the level of brutality, insanity, grueliness of what a War Games match should be. And this match just didn't live up to those standards, those expectations as like the last two. Going back to those two matches and regarding the heel group both being Damage Control back to back, Those two matches were well executed from all the storylines between all the women involved in the match, all the performances, all the spots, all the weapon spots, the intensity of what the match is supposed to live up to. And this match just didn't do it. Like, the only times that I felt enthusiastic about anything in this match is like Iyo's trash can moonsault. I laughed and I got a good cackle out of Naomi doing the stank face on Nia, and got a smile out of me when the crowd was chanting happy birthday for Naomi, and the double team between Naomi and Bianca doing the powerbomb on Nia into the table. That was literally like the only times that like got me happy about the match, got me feeling something. But like literally everything else, with the lack of storytelling, like I said, and just not showing the hatred that these women have for each other, it just didn't do what it was supposed to do regarding a War Games match. It just felt like a regular disqualification match. It barely felt like anything. This match did not do anybody any favors regarding any of the storylines to progress into a better position. It felt so bland. Literally, out of those favorite parts I have, don't see myself not remembering anything else in the match moving forward, like within the next, I would say, month or so, because it shouldn't have felt that way. With so much material that they had, they didn't use any of it, barely. No turn, no reveal, no hint of a reveal of the attacker, Jade. The continuous reign of terror that Rhea Ripley's character is running on the women's division, Liv Morgan specifically, and the dynamic between Nia, Candice, and Tiffany, it just didn't move a piece to the puzzle of what will be formed together regarding WrestleMania season. Every single factor of what this match could build up to, it barely was halfway built, like a quarter built. Imagine the match is like a skyscraper. It's building up to be a skyscraper. That thing barely even left the ground. The women deserve so much better. They deserve so much better than what they gotten. And it just continuously shows that they barely care to book the women right. If we count them only main event in a pay-per-view, one pay-per-view out of the year, not main event in WrestleMania at all, the times of the matches, the poor execution of promos and segments, collecting all of that and comparing it to what the men are doing and how intense all their storylines look, their matches, all of that, you just see the difference, and you just see the lack of careness that they have regarding building of the women's division. I just really hope that things will get better, but it's been 2 years, about to be going on 3 next year, that man has been over creative and over the company, and I have barely seen any type of change for the women regarding everything that I just named. Once all of that gets better, they start main eventing pay-per-views more, they get more time in matches, they get more careness in their storylines and their promos and their segments, then we can start talking about, how he has changed his presentation of the women's division. But until then, we gonna continue talking about these issues because I'm tired. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I don't know what else y'all gonna get out of me. Probably maybe a few things on TikTok, and trying to finish up Liv Morgan's Revenge Tour review that I'm still sitting on, that I still have not touched in like 3 months. So I'll try and get that finished up. If not, expect it sometime next year. I don't know. But yeah, tell me what y'all think in the comments down below, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.